Alright, g'day guys, Tyler and Luke here. We're going to talk about balance, stability and equilibrium with the aid of our force plate here, and Luke's going to demonstrate a few things for us. So, first up we're going to talk about Luke's stability. So we're going to get him to stand on the force plate on one foot. He's going to go up on his toes and we're going to get his arms high up in the sky. So we'll get him to do that. We're just going to balance off this force plate and we'll get some recording happening.
This is harder than it looks.
Right, so 5 principles around stability. Mass. More mass is better for stability. Luke is currently just sub 90 kilos, I think, at the moment. Hard to keep track of. So reasonable mass, that's going to be good for his stability. Friction. Down here we've got his foot. We've got some grip tape on this force plate, so friction's reasonably good. He's not going to slip around, so that's good for his stability. Center of gravity. A lower centre of gravity is better for stability. We've got Luke with his arms up nice and high. That's raising that centre of gravity a little bit, so that's going to reduce his stability. We want our line of gravity to remain inside our base of support. Now, all this moving around that we can see Luke doing, that is his balance attempting to keep that inside. So as his torso goes back a bit, you'll see his leg comes forward to try and balance that mass out, keep it inside his base of support, which we'll come to now, as the 5th part, base of support. Now in this case Luke's got a really small base of support, just the toes, so a bigger base of support would be better for stability. So a lot of those things we said, Luke's got a worse off stability based on what he's doing, but he is remaining, until now, he was remaining in a state of equilibrium. That is, throughout that whole time he stayed in the same spot. So he was moving around, but as a whole person, he didn't go anywhere. So he remained at equilibrium, and he does that with his balance. So he uses things like his flexibility, his muscular strength, and then just sort of experience. So we could see that he knew as he went backwards, he put his leg out, and that helped there. So that balance, that's his ability to control the equilibrium. And then stability, more stability is going to be a greater resistance to a change in equilibrium, less stability will be less resistance. So we need to rely more on things like our balance. So what we're going to do now.
So clearly there guys, you can see I was moving a fair bit all over the place, so let's see where we go from now.
Stop this. We're going to get Luke to stand on with 2 feet spread apart, and we'll let him bend his legs a little bit, keep his arms by his side. So we'll get him on there. We'll just balance this off. Start this one again. Right, now, if we're looking at the force plate data on the screen there, we can see much less movement than we had before. So Luke clearly in a state of equilibrium here. As a whole person, he's staying in the same spot. He has to rely, or he doesn't need to rely on his balance as much now. So we see that he's not needing to use his muscles or to keep himself there because his stability has improved. His mass hasn't changed. He's still the same mass that he was before. We've got slightly more friction now, so instead of just having half of 1 foot in contact with the force plate, we've got 2 full feet, so greater friction. Friction wasn't an issue, but we do have more of it now. His centre of gravity is lower, that's good, we can see he's burnt down. His line of gravity, even more central, we've got a wider base of support, which it makes it easy to keep that line of gravity more central. And I just said it, base of support is much wider compared to just that half foot that we had before. We've now got between the 2 feet, so a much wider base of support. Alright, we'll stop that, we'll go one more, we'll see if we can get this dot to move around even less. We can see there's a little bit there, but it's reasonably good. So we'll get Luke off. We're going to get Luke to sit down. So he's going to sit right down on there, get himself comfortable, just like primary school. He's hopefully going to hold himself as still as possible.
Barely fit on it.
Good, right. Looking at that data, we can see he's hardly moving. Now, he's not relying on balance here because he doesn't need to. He doesn't need to rely on his balance because his stability is really good. Again, same mass. That hasn't changed. But friction has gone up even further. We've got much more contact with the force plate between both feet plus his bum. Centre of gravity really, really low. We've brought that really, really far down, close to the ground. So that's a really good thing. Line of gravity, we've got this big, wide, we'll skip that one, we'll go base of support. We went from half a foot to 2 feet. Now we've got this big sort of rectangle shape between both his feet and his bum. Really wide base of support, and that allows us to keep our line of gravity centered inside that really well. Having a look at that data, we can see he's hardly moving at all. So in terms of those things, we could take a really young person, let's say a 4-year-old, and we get a 4-year-old to sit down, they can sit down and remain balanced, right? They base beyond that stability. Really high stability is really good. If we get that same 4-year-old and ask them to do what Luke did in the first trial, stand up nice and tall, 1 foot, chance of them being able to remain in a state of equilibrium is not very good there. They've got really low stability and they don't have the balance, the skills, the strength, the balance to maintain that equilibrium through their balance.
So in terms of
Anything else?
practical application, if you think like, let's just use sumo wrestling as the example, they're really, really heavy guys, right? They want to increase mass. They need to be as stable as they possibly can be. So increase mass as much as they can. Have a wide base of support. What they even do with a centre of gravity is down as well. So all these are the principles of stability. And the line of gravity in this one is quite interesting because originally the line of gravity will be inside their base of support, but then when they actually contact each other, they lean forward. They're trying to get their line of gravity outside their base of support into the other person because then it's going to be harder for them to go outside the base of support the other way. So we want to increase stability in those circumstances. Can you give us an example of when we want to decrease stability?
Well, stability being a resistance in our change in motion, a resistance to our equilibrium. Any time we want to change our state of motion, so that is accelerate, positively accelerate or negatively accelerate, so speed up or slow down, or change direction. If I'm running in this direction and I want to all of a sudden turn right or left for you guys, whatever it is, that's a change in my state of motion. So the more stable I am, the harder it's going to be. If I'm like this, it's going to take me a long time to get going that way. We see it in sports. As they go to change direction, we're on 1 foot, leaning over, that centre of gravity outside our base support, which will pull us in that direction. We can change our state of motion really quickly.
So in summary, guys, mass, friction, centre of gravity, base of support, line of gravity, these are the principles of stability. You can increase and decrease stability depending on what you need to do.